You assume that movement affirms identity. You think action is the mark of I. You call this confidence strength. Yet the more you insist on being the mover, the more fragile your certainty becomes. You notice how easily a result or a reaction can disturb your claim of authorship. Shams Tabreez questioned this habit at its base. He said there is a way of moving that erases the one who moves. He called it a practice, not a performance. Its aim is not display, but non-ownership. Action occurs, yet the claim disappears. You are invited to try the paradox. The truest motion leaves no personal trace. If movement continues without the mover, what exactly was the I that felt so necessary? And what remains when it is absent? You test this against your own life. You notice how quickly you attach mind to thoughts, choices, and speech. You observe the sequence. Intention arises, you claim it, then you evaluate yourself through it. Approval strengthens identity. Error threatens it. The cycle continues. Your effort to be the author becomes a constant defense. You wonder whether the defense is evidence of a deeper uncertainty. If authorship were natural, would it need such protection? Shams suggested that ownership is a learned posture, reinforced by praise and fear. Without the posture, action would still occur. The question sharpens. Are you defending reality? Or are you defending a picture of yourself that must be renewed with every movement and judged after every outcome? In the 13th century, Shams Tabreez appeared as a corrective to forms that had hardened. He engaged scholars and seekers who trusted hierarchy, reputation, and mastery of discourse. He unsettled them. His influence on Jalaluddin Rumi did not begin with polished arguments. It began with the interruption of self-certainty. Shams did not ask for abandonment of intellect. He asked for honesty about identification. He presented a path where devotion is measured not by display, but by the dissolution of the claimant. In that climate, the distinction between practice and performance became crucial. When methods become means of self-protection, they cease to purify. What survives when a method removes the need to be the one who practices it? Shams taught that existence is continuous activity. Reality does not pause for our assertions. In this field of unceasing motion, the ego constructs a private center and assigns authorship to it. This claim does not create action. It only interrupts understanding. The practice he indicated is simple in form and difficult in habit. Move. Speak, think, and act without inserting ownership. Do what is appropriate, complete what is present, but do not turn the occurrence into identity. The test is internal. Can action arise without the reflex of self-reference? When this happens even briefly, attention is clear. There is action, but there is no storyteller. There is responsibility, but there is no vanity. If the function can operate without the fiction, which one was ever essential? The motion itself, or the one who insists on being its source? You notice resistance. Part of you fears that non-ownership will produce weakness, indifference, or passivity. Another part desires a special identity as the one who has transcended identity. Both parts revolve around self-image. Shams warned about this double trap. The first confuses surrender with collapse. The second confuses insight with superiority. He recommended a cleaner test. Examine the need for credit and the fear of blame. If either governs your action, the claimant is active. Non-ownership does not abolish responsibility. It abolishes vanity and panic. You do what needs to be done with precision and humility. The work measures itself. You do not inflate in success or shrink in failure. If your stability no longer depends on reaction, what exactly was the ego protecting, and what is freed when protection ends? A conceptual shift follows. Instead of asking, "How can I erase myself?" you ask, "What in me claims to be the self?" Shams framed the issue in these terms. The ego is not a stable entity. It is a repeated claim. The claim appears as commentary after action and anticipation before action. Once identified, it can be left unused. You do not fight it. You stop feeding it. The practice becomes technical. Track the moment the label I attaches to a movement. Notice how the label seeks continuity. This is who I am. Confirm nothing. Deny nothing. Proceed with the task while the claim withers from disuse. If the claim is a habit, not a substance, then erasure is not destruction, but non-participation. What remains when commentary does not convert doing into identity? You experience a clean interval. A decision is made. Speech forms. A task is completed. There is clarity, but no inner narrator collecting evidence for or against you. Responsibility is intact, yet the tension surrounding credit dissolves. The relief is conceptual, not emotional. You sense that motion does not need a private center to occur. The earlier fear that non-ownership equals passivity proves unfounded. In fact, vigilance improves because attention is not split between the task and the story. Shams described this as honesty in action. What is done is simply done. You see how much energy was spent constructing an owner for every event. That effort falls away. If action is cleaner without the owner, why preserve the owner? And what function did it ever truly serve beyond self-maintenance? Clarity emerges as stillness of reference, not as the absence of activity. The center you once defended is quiet. Thought can appear, but it no longer needs to locate a controller. Choice can appear, but it no longer demands a title. Shams treated this sobriety as the sign of alignment. Nothing dramatic is required. You meet what is present with appropriate response and minimal commentary. When recognition slips, you notice the old reflex and release it without judgment. The practice renews itself in each moment. Stillness, therefore, is not a state to achieve, but a lack of interference in operation. If interference is optional and accuracy improves without it, what reason remains to bind identity to action and call that bond necessary? Integration begins with concrete tests. Shams would have you examine 3 fields: speech, work, and relationship. In speech, reduce self-display. Say what serves understanding. In work, complete tasks precisely. Measure results without turning them into a self-portrait. In relationship, allow correction without collapse and appreciation without inflation. Each field exposes whether ownership is active. The measure is stability. If praise or blame can move you without disturbing you, you are practicing non-ownership. If you must edit reality to protect identity, ownership has returned. The aim is consistent. Decrease commentary, increase accuracy. Over time, the center that demanded renewal through reactions loses authority. What remains is competence joined to humility. If this simplicity sustains itself, do you miss anything that was removed, or do you recognize that only strain has been subtracted? Return to the opening question. Can movement erase the mover? After examining control, conflict, and application, you stand where Shams Tabreez pointed. Action was never the problem. Ownership was the interruption. The practice is not to vanish. but to stop converting occurrences into identity. When you let go of that conversion, stability increases, clarity sharpens, and responsibility matures. There is motion, but there is no inner collector building a self from it. What was called ego is recognized as a recurring claim, not a necessary fact. The paradox resolves in the plain instruction: move accurately, refuse authorship, and let reality complete its own work. When nothing personal remains to defend, understanding is quiet. In that quiet, action is simple, and the question has no further demand.